It's week 8 of 60 books in 60 days. I don't know how to feel. Like, I really don't know how to feel. It feels very, very strange to be almost done with this. I feel like it's like really taken over my life the last 2 months. So today is Monday. We're reading All Roads Lead Here by Marina Zapata. I've been a little more liberal with my reading the last few weeks, especially last week. I wanted to really take my time reading books rather than just try to like get through them day by day. But I also wanted to make sure I was still reading 7 books in 1 week, whether I read 1 full book a day or not. This week, I'm gonna try doing something similar, but today in particular, I do have the time to read, so I would like to make sure I can get this book out of the way because it's one of my longest books on this weekly TBR. We also have this monster, When the Moon Hatched. So my plan for this book, it's 700 pages. I'm gonna read 100 pages of this a day, or at least try to read 100 pages of this a day, and that should like balance this out well. So we're reading All Roads Lead Here as well as When the Moon Hatched. I actually have already read like 20 pages of this. I'm not super far in, and I am liking it more than the last Marina Zapata book I read. A few weeks ago, I read Under Lock. Did not like that book at all. This is a traditionally published version, so I'm excited about that because I've only ever read her stuff indie published, so I'm just curious to see. I will say, sometimes with Marina Zapata, and I feel this way even about the books that I like by her, sometimes the reason her books are so long aren't because it's like mega slow burn, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes they're so long because she says the same thing 20 times in 1 chapter. It was a lot of exposition though, and I have only read like 1 chapter, so I don't want to judge it too harshly, but I was a little like, okay, you know, we get it. She can't move in here, but she wants to, but she can't, blah, blah, blah. Like, same thing over and over and over again between these 2 characters. So I fear if that keeps happening, I may not like this, but I'm so far liking the characters, so far. I don't know much about them, though. I know a lot of people, this is like their favorite Marina Zapata book, though. So I'm excited, I'm ready. I think it's an interesting premise. It's gonna be a little bit of forced proximity. I don't think it's age gap necessarily, but that dude looks older. I don't like age gap romances for a multitude of reasons. Unless both of our characters are like well over the age of 30, then I'm like, cool, whatever. So yeah, that's the plan. And then I'm gonna read about 100 pages of this tonight. So I am like 100 pages into All Roads Lead Here. I'm on chapter 8. Oh, I'm farther. I'm 140 pages in. I will say, I kind of stand by what I said at the beginning of the vlog where I was like, Marina Zapata does this thing where the chapters just keep repeating the same thing that's happening, and then she's like, it's a slow burn. No, it's not. You're just using way too much detail so the book's 600 pages. Fear that that is what is happening here, you know? Our main characters, like our main character and our love interest, have barely interacted. Like, I can't even really tell what chemistry they have yet because they haven't really talked to each other. We don't have any chemistry other than our female main character being like, oh my gosh, he's so hot. That's all we have. That's all we have. And then he's classic stoic Marina Zapata male main character, and he's just like, hello. And that's all we're getting. So I'm 140 pages in, and I don't know if they have chemistry or not. They might when they actually start interacting more, but they're like, they've barely talked at this point. Let me just say too, this clip is sounding kind of negative. I don't even really mean this in a negative way because I'm so far like still enjoying my time. Like, it's a nice, leisurely, easy romance read, don't get me wrong. I just don't like certain aspects of it, and the things I dislike are outweighing the things I like right now, you know? So like, even though this feels very like negative, like I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, just know that I don't necessarily dislike the book yet. I might end up disliking the book if this continues, but who knows? I love a lot of Marina Zapata. I hate a lot of Marina Zapata. It's kind of a 50-50 for me. What I was gonna say though is I don't really like our female main character. She is annoying. I just feel like she keeps expecting things to be handed to her and she's perfectly capable of doing other things. And I know a part of that is just plot advancement, but I don't know. What I'm gonna do, because it's not like super late, but it's late enough to where I would like to start reading When the Moon Hatched because I have not started that yet. I'm gonna read When the Moon Hatched and I'm gonna get as far as I can, and then if I'm still like awake after, I'll finish this book. But like I said, I'm kind of feeling a little more lax about my reading. As long as I get 7 books done somehow, I'm happy. You know it's serious when there's like a glossary at the beginning. I'm scared, but I've heard literally nothing but good things about this book. So I'm ready. I'm ready to immerse myself into this fantasy world with my fall decorations decorations around me and my pumpkin candle. It's time for fantasy, so we're reading our big scary fantasy book, people. I just wanted to give a little reading update because I haven't updated all day. Over the course of yesterday and today, I did make it halfway through. I'm on page 343, chapter 20. What I said in my last update still kind of stands. We are pretty much over halfway through this book. We've gotten like maybe like 7 interactions, like true interactions between our male main character and our female main character. So that's like making me a little worried. It's making me a little worried. But the later interactions we've gotten, like the ones in the last few chapters, have been like very sweet. I'm starting to actually see the romance like be built up. So I'm liking that. There's just like a lot of filler in this book. Like it doesn't feel like a slow burn romance. It feels like a book where a girl has a crush and then she goes on this like journey for herself. A lot of the story is coming from her backstory rather than like things that are actually advancing the plot. So like that's my like really complaint about it. I feel like I'd enjoy this more if we were getting more romance, because it doesn't feel like a romance book with a deeper element. It just feels like a book with a lot of filler, you know? I also have made it not super far into When the Moon Hatched. I know I want to read like on average around 100 pages a day, and in 2 days I've read 41, so I'm a little behind, but I'm loving this book. I am loving this book. I am on page 41 and I can understand why people are saying this is like one of their favorite fantasies already. Like I get the hype, I get it. It is written beautifully. Like the writing in this book is phenomenal. The world building is so interesting, but it's also not too hard to understand. I will say like the prologue where it explains like what happened and like the story of the gods, that I had to reread a few times to like understand what was going on. But once you get into our main character's head, it's in first person and it's like very easy to understand. I swear to God, if you go back and look at every single one of these vlogs, I've said at least once, hey, I'm not feeling good, guys. I have a chronic stomach condition. If you're new here, actually, I don't even think I've really talked about that in general. I do have a chronic stomach condition. I'm not dying. I'm fine. Like, I am fine. Pretty much at least once a week, I'm gonna be a little under the weather at some point. And today just seems to be that day. My tummy is not super happy right now. We're having a little lie-in. I need to eat something before I take some medication, and then I'm going to bed. So, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. We are finally filming a clip like in the daytime in the morning. It's like 9 a.m. I'm loving it. I'm having a good time. I did in fact finish All Roads Lead Here last night. I did end up enjoying this book. It was fun, it was cute, it was good. I do think it's gonna be slightly forgettable to me though, because straight up, this book could be 300 pages shorter. Like literally 300 pages shorter. There was so much filler, like even towards the end. I know I'm repeating myself for like the 4th time about this book here, but like this book didn't feel like a slow burn romance. It felt like a regular romance with a bunch of chapters of something that like didn't relate to like the overall romance at all. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of books that do that. Like Emily Henry's a big proponent of someone who adds like deeper things into her books. And I think that's what Marina Zapata is trying to do here, but it just felt disconnected. Typically the romance still somehow ties into that. This romance didn't really tie into that at all. It was just like, here's a struggle our main character is going through, and here's a romance, and they are completely separate entities. She might talk to him about it once or twice, but like it wasn't like integrated. She did kind of just talk in circles for like 300 pages of this book. That being said, I didn't dislike the book. The romance was really fun once we actually finally got into it. I'm not kidding. They started really having interactions a lot together by page 300, and it didn't feel like a slow burn. Here I go complaining again. Didn't feel like a slow burn because the lead up to it was completely disconnected from the actual romance. Like we weren't getting tension, just they'd never talked to each other. Like they didn't interact really. As soon as they started interacting more, it was like, we're in love. Like if she would have just wrote like a 300-page book, I think it would have been way better. Sorry I keep complaining. This sounds really negative. I did like the romance once it started. It went very quickly once it started, but I did enjoy it. It was cute. I don't feel like our characters had like too much depth, but it wasn't bad. I give the book a 3.5 stars. I felt like that was fair because I was like giggling. I was enjoying myself. There's just some things in this book that could have been changed. I seriously think if this book was 300 pages shorter, I would have enjoyed myself much more than I did. I am now officially 200 pages into When the Moon Hatched. I'm really, really liking this. I will say, I know earlier I was like, I feel like every page is gonna be important. I don't know about that anymore. I'm like having a really good time, do not get me wrong. But a lot of this feels kind of just like info dumpy, which is not a bad thing. It's the first book in a fantasy series. You can't really like, you know, get around that. But some of the scenes I just think like I don't need all this detail. Like I don't need all this detail. This is already like a very detailed book. I don't need to know what the furniture in this random room that we're never gonna see again looks like. You know what I mean? But it is very, very well written. It's really good. So I'm enjoying it. My only other small complaint is like, as much as I like our female main character, I do really like her. Like she's like pretty cool, but she kind of is like annoyingly cocky. Like the only way I could describe it is like, you know, like the TikTok point of views people were making in like 2020 that were always like, I'm with the boss, like I'm the mafia, like it's like, oh, they're so cool and badass, and it was like really cringe. That's like how she is sometimes, like no context whatsoever. This will not spoil a thing, I promise, but she's on trial at one point and the judge goes, what's your plea? And she's like, guilty on all charges. And all I can imagine is her being like, guilty on all charges. Like that kind of vibe, like the nerd emoji with the like finger. I don't know. Like, so sometimes she just says things and I'm like, oh my God, we get it. This is a romantasy. Like that is what people are describing it as. It was on Goodreads, like best romantasy. But I will say so far I'm 200 pages in and this is far more fantasy with a touch of romance than it is like a romantasy book. I don't know if that was all just build up. I don't know if it was just like I was saying too much info dumping. I don't know, because I still have way more than half of this book to go, so it might turn into like more romantasy. But as of right now, it's just heavily fantasy with a side of romance, which I'm enjoying still. Like I'm liking it. I like it. It's good. It's fun. It's, you know, no issues. So I'm gonna try reading at least 100 more pages of this today, and then I'll be like caught up on this book. But I am going to start my Dark Vanessa tonight too. I might finish this, I don't know. I have been in a reading mood. I've been sitting here listening to autumn jazz on Spotify and reading, and I have my candles lit and my room is clean. I'm feeling the autumn vibe. I'm loving it. I'm having the best time right now. So I'm in such a reading mood. I don't know how much I'm actually gonna get done between now and when I go to bed, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm still having a good time. So I'm gonna read my Dark Vanessa eventually at some point, but this will be the next thing I pick up. I want to try getting through at least half of this before I read more of When the Moon Hatched. So I am 100 pages into my Dark Vanessa, and I think I'm gonna DNF this, but listen, let me make a disclaimer. This is beautifully written, it is heartbreaking, and it really shows the side of a victim who does not realize they're a victim because they've been gaslit by their abuser like so much to think that they were the ones who pursued it. It does it brilliantly. I'm not DNFing this book because it's bad. I'm not DNFing it because I'm not intrigued to see where the story goes. It is a very, very tough read, but it's a really important read, and it's done in such a way that I think people could learn from it. I am not someone who DNFs books a lot for triggering reasons. I read A Little Life, you know what I mean? Like I read A Little Life, but when I did read A Little Life, I finished it and had anxiety for a week. I'm an educator, and something that I've always been very passionate about is advocacy for children, which is something I've talked about, and protection of children. So to read something like this, it's just spiking my anxiety to like levels that I'm like, this is like not healthy for me. I have diagnosed anxiety, so you know, I'm getting really bad anxiety from reading this book. I am just like heartbroken by it. I just can't do it. So I'm DNFing it for my own mental health, not because the story was at all bad. I would totally recommend it if you think you can handle it. It's too sickening to me. Like that's the only way I could describe it. So the book is great. I would recommend it, but please, please, please make sure you're in the right headspace. I was like, I'm for sure in the right heads. I can't do it. I cannot read this book. It is Thursday night. I am home. I am ready to just relax and read. All I want to do is sit and read. I'm planning on like honestly binging this book because this is a reread for me and I am so excited to be reading it. I'm going to be reading Modern Divination. You unfortunately cannot buy this on Amazon anymore. You can't buy it anywhere because it's being traditionally published. show the indie published version. This one is gone. This is like my favorite book of last year. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Top 10 books of all time. It's just a little romantic-y. It's very much giving like fall time spooky witches too, so I'm going to read this book. I don't know how much I'm going to update because obviously I know what happens, but I'm gonna have just like a cozy, cute reading night. I'm really excited about it. This is Valentine.
What's all that about?
What is that about?
What are we talking about?
What are we saying over here? Hi guys! It's Sunday. We're pretty much done with this week, except we're not because I'm going to be reading a lot more tonight. Let's just show you all the books that I have to finish by at least tomorrow. At least tomorrow. This is not good, guys. We're in a bad place. Add this to the pile. I'm gonna finish Modern Divination. I'm not too far into this, honestly. I literally only got to page like 55 from the last update because I've been reading When the Moon Hatched, but I am liking it. Again, this one, I don't know how much I'm gonna update on because I have no new reactions. It's a reread, I know what's happening, but I guess I'll update to see like if I'm still enjoying it as much, and I definitely am so far. As far as where I'm at in When the Moon Hatched, I actually don't know where I'm at because I've been reading on my Kindle Unlimited app. I deleted it for a while and then I got back on it. I think I got like a few more chapters in. I think I got to page 300 of this book. So I read like 70 more pages through my Kindle just over the weekend. I'm still loving it. Like I'm having such a good time with this book. We are getting into the romance now. It's kind of like enemies to lovers, kind of, but I wouldn't even really consider it that because I don't think our male main character at all hates her. He's like already kind of like flirting with her. She's even thought that about him. Like they are kind of doing like a weird flirty thing, but they're on different sides. So I can see how that is where like the enemies to lovers comes in, but it doesn't give like the enemies to lovers vibes that you think, but that's not an issue. It's not an issue. I'm just, you know, yapping right now. It's really good. I just don't know like how convinced I'm gonna be. I am not even halfway through this book, which is not painful, but a little painful, you know? So I don't know, I could like completely change my mind. I just don't know how convinced I am by the romance, and I do enjoy the romance aspect. It's just is like not my favorite thing about this book. I enjoy the world, it's just like not giving me like those super giddy feelings, you know? But that being said, I am still wanting to read this book and pick it up, and it's still really good. So what I think I'm gonna do for sure is I'm gonna finish Modern Divination tonight. I have plenty of time and I know I can because all I really want to do is sit and read. I'm going to table this until tomorrow. So maybe I'll read a little before bed, but I'm gonna let myself take this book into next week because worst case scenario, I could just read more and more every day next week, you know? Just really want to make sure I'm absorbing all of the information in this book and like really sitting with it. Good morning, babies. Good morning. I did finish Modern Div last night. I love this book so bad. I like remembered the ending because like I said, it was one of my favorite books of last year, but at the same time, reading it again, I was like, oh, I forgot that happened. Like I knew it happened, but I was like, oh my gosh, because when I originally read this, the sequel was supposed to come out this April, but because the author got published, like traditionally published, traditional publication doesn't come out till next January, so even she's been like on her Instagram like, I have no idea. I'm assuming the next book won't come out for like another like 1.5 to 2 years, honestly, and this book ends on such a cliffhanger, and oh my god, like I'm so excited. I'm also really excited to see like anything that this author does. Isabel Ogbuanin, like, oh my gosh. I love this book. I do really love it. It was a 5 stars. It continued to be a 5 stars. It is Monday, but we're gonna continue the vlog because I think that's literally the second book I finished in this video, and that's just not okay. So today I just have like a full day and I had a really busy weekend. I want to just sit and read. I'm gonna try, guys. I'm gonna try to get through most of these books today. I think it's possible. Like I really do. It's 7 a.m. when I'm filming this clip. If I sit and do nothing but read, I think I could get through it. Especially these 3 on top right here are like all like 200 pages and less. Like these are the equivalent of like one big book to me. I'm already halfway through When the Moon Hatched, and then like the other 2 books, we'll see where I get. But I feel like if I just like dedicate my whole day to reading and I stay off my phone, I can do it. the Coraline. I am like flying through this. It's definitely like written for younger readers. I believe it's a middle grade book, you know, so it is very easy to read. I'm not necessarily getting like the scarier vibe. I think the movie is really creepy. I love the movie. Don't get me wrong. One of the best movies of all time. But that one is definitely like really creepy. I think it's still creepier than this, but we also are just getting to like the climax of the story. It's moving a lot faster than the movie, oddly enough. I kind of expected the opposite, but I guess with how short this book is, like that makes sense. The writing style is like pretty simple. Like it's a very easy, quick read because like I said, it is, you know, made for like 5th graders, so, but I am liking it. It is giving me like all the fall spooky cozy vibes. It is very reminiscent of the movie. They like really kept it to a T. Wybie's not in this book though, which I didn't know. So that was a character that they added in the movie, and I think that's a good character to add because he's one of my faves. I'm enjoying this book. I don't even know what I'm gonna rate it. I take it back, this is creepier than the movie. Yeah, that's way freaking creepier. Oh, I don't like that. I finished Coraline. We have one book down this morning. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling slay. Literally took me like an hour to read. It was so fun to do this. I really recommend this if you like this movie a lot because it's so reminiscent of the movie. Like I said, minus Wybie. Wybie is not in the book at all. The movie translates this book very well and very accurately, like down to like the atmosphere, which is really interesting. And it was just like a quick, easy read. Like I did give it a 5 stars, but I wouldn't necessarily like count it on my 5-star reading list, you know? It's just, I had no idea what to rate this. So 5 stars, it was good, it was fun. I'm glad I got a book down. I'm feeling slay, I'm feeling productive. So Coraline is down. That's technically my book for My Dark Vanessa, so that would have been like my Wednesday book or whenever I read that. I'm going to read Dungeons and Drama. Like I was saying, this book was on my TBR last week. This is the first time I had a book like go to the next week in a vlog. Normally it's like I'll just finish it in the morning like I am right now. This is the first time it's gone to the next week in a vlog, but girl, we have 2 vlogs left. This is the second to last vlog, so I'm not even gonna be that upset about it, you know? I am 100 pages into Dungeons and Drama. I'm feeling very strangely about this book because I really like the writing and I do like the writing style, and I definitely think I'm gonna check out like more from this author. I think the plot is fun, it's fast-paced, it's interesting. Basically, she gets grounded and her punishment is that she has to work at her dad's like game shop, and one of the guy who works there is this guy that she goes to school with, but she's like not super into like games and board games and stuff, and so he doesn't really like her, and they like kind of get off on the wrong foot. He has a crush on this one girl, and she's like obviously like the snooty kind of like not the character you want to be rooting for, and basically our female main character's ex-boyfriend comes into the store and she panics and is like, I'm dating someone new, like to like kind of one up him, and she just kind of panics and says our male main character is named Nathan. Now they're fake dating even though they both really don't like each other, and it's fun. It's fun. The only thing is like I'm just like not convinced by their romance. Right now neither of them like each other, and you know me, I love a good enemies to lovers. I finished Dungeons and Drama and I was so pleasantly surprised by this. Like I said, when I first started reading it, I was just kind of like not super into it. I was like kind of finding some lines a little cringy, a little weird, and I was like, I don't know how I feel. I don't know what happened between the first like 50 pages and the last like 120, but oh my god, I loved it. Like I loved this book. This is just so fun. It was so cute. They were like frenemies for a good amount of the time. I give it a 3.75. This was technically for last week. We can mark this off the TBR. I'm still going strong. I'm having such a great reading day. I'm so happy right now. And now I'm going to read The Shadows Between Us. I am really excited. This is enemies to lovers. I've seen comments being like, just expect like something fun, cutesy, like not too serious, and I'll like it. And I like everything about that. It seems silly and I'm excited for that. I think I'll be able to get through this pretty quickly too, and then we can move on to the last few books of the night. Last few books. I know this one looks scary, but like I said, I'm already halfway through. So I'm on chapter 4, like not very far in at all, literally 22 pages in. First impressions are fun. Like this is definitely gonna be like a fun, silly little fantasy romance. Like I'm not expecting much else. And I do really like Trisha Levenseller's writing. Like I do enjoy her writing. I just don't really enjoy like when the main characters, this is like such like a niche thing to not like, and I feel like a lot of people normally like this, but I just get annoyed by it. Pause real quick. I do love a good badass female woman character. That's not like what this is about. I enjoy them when it is like, you can tell that they are. They don't have to tell you that they are. You know, I don't know if this is making sense. I don't know if this is making sense. I don't like when either of the main characters, male or female, are like cocky in that sense. I don't enjoy it. It just feels like the author is having to tell us, the reader, this character is like the independent woman and she knows it. That's okay to know, but when they're acting all like snippy, it just, I don't know, it's so like cringe to me. I don't like it. I have something controversial, and I want to just say, first of all, I'm so sorry to everyone in my comments who's like, I love The Choice Between Us, it's such a good book, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying it's not a good book. Like, your opinion is still so valid, but I also understand that feeling of loving a book and watching a content creator that you enjoy watching saying they don't like it, and you're like, no! I'm not liking this, though. I just feel like our characters, both of them, have like no depth. No depth. I don't know anything about these people. It's a romance and I don't care if they get together or not because I don't really know who these people are. It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, and I figured out a good word for what I meant. I don't like when our main character is unfeeling. Is that a real word? I don't know. I don't like the whole like, I could do whatever I want because I don't actually care about anything. Like, that is what I dislike about these characters. I don't like when the only motivation is power, but there's no reason they actually want the power. That's not how it works. Power goes with something else, you know? And I feel like I'm not explaining this very well. I don't like it. And am I looking too far into a YA fantasy romance that's just supposed to be silly and fun? Yeah, I know that. I know I am. But I'm not enjoying this because neither of our characters have any sort of depth. I finished The Shadows Between Us. I always feel bad when I give like a more negative review on a book that I know a lot of you guys liked. This is like not the case for that, I think, though. I just didn't like this. I felt like there was like no depth. Just like such a lame excuse to be like, look at this person's mean. She's mean, but it's okay because she slays. She's an anti-hero. Like, I didn't care though, because there's no motivation behind any of that. That made me dislike it more. I gave it a 2 stars. So I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. If you love this, please know you are so valid in that. I am not hating on anyone who likes this book. It just wasn't for me. I am now going to pick up The Atlas Paradox. I know Olivia Blake's writing is like very in-depth and it's very character-based. So I really don't know how quick I can get through it. I fear that might be the last book I read today fully. So I'm like nearly 200 pages into The Atlas Paradox. As I read more, it's getting easier, you know? But I don't really remember each character. I remembered Rena a lot. I don't know why, but I could like picture her in my head. But the other characters, I just could not recall. Like, I knew they were there, but it's like I don't remember the dynamics and who each one is specifically other than Rena for some reason. I think Rena just had a big part in the last book. I feel like I almost want to like soft DNF this and go back and read it after reading the first one. Like, I think I want to read the series like just all together. Now my issue with soft DNFing this book is we have 3 DNFs. One has been rectified already with Coraline. Instead of finding a book to replace this now, I'm gonna just add a book to next week, technically this week's TBR, but I am going to read The Never Tilting World and finish off this vlog with The Never Tilting World. I'm literally 200 pages into this book. I've been reading. Much like The Atlas Paradox, I don't know what the hell is going on, but for a different reason. The Atlas Paradox, I knew at least the plot. I at least could tell you, like, plot-wise, like, what is happening. I don't know if it's just because it's late at night and I've read 4 other books today, or if it's the book. Like, I cannot tell. It is objectively not very plot heavy. Basically, it's like there's these 2 goddesses that rule different parts of the world and their daughters end up going on this like journey. But there's like 17 point of views in this. Not really, there's 4, but there's like 17 point of views. That's what it feels like. I finished The Never Tilting World. Do I know what happened at all in this book? No. It is late. I am sleepy. This is already a complicated book and I just think the mix of that wasn't great. I can't tell you that I paid much attention to it either. Like, just being completely honest, this was like the 5th book I read today. So in my defense, I don't have a defense, honestly. I'm just being real with you guys. I definitely do want to read this on audio, like listen to it. I'm sure it's either gonna be on Spotify or I'll be able to find it somewhere. Let's like give a little update on the challenge so you guys know where I'm at. First of all, I have to say this book was my 125th book I've read this year. Why is that important? Because that was my Goodreads reading goal, and I definitely would not have done that if it wasn't for this channel. I only read this much because this is my job, and my job is to recommend you guys books. So please do not compare yourself to me. Like, don't compare your reading to me, even like with the challenge. I know I keep saying that, but it's just so true. If you read more than me, you know, go ahead, compare all you want. But if you're reading like less, like do not feel bad, because I've been an avid reader my whole life, and this is by far the most I've ever read in 1 year. I am pretty much on track. The issue we come to for next week, which you will see more in next week's vlog, is that we have to be done by Friday. Like, I can't just say like, oh, I'll finish this book the next day, because Friday will officially be 60 days from the start of the challenge. I'm scared. I'm nervous, but you know what? I'm having a good time, and thank you guys so much for following along, and thank you so much for all the love on this series, on this channel that I've been getting, and I'm ready. I'm ready for the last week of the challenge. I hope you guys are too. If you enjoyed this video, you could go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and you've made it this far, you obviously like me, you might as well subscribe, and down below there will be the playlist linked with all the other videos in this challenge, the TBRs, as well as the other weekly vlogs. So if you are new here and you have not yet seen that, I do recommend watching those videos. And with that, I will see you guys all on Sunday for our next video of the week. Okay, bye guys!